has to be.
So the Louisville statement, are you comfortable with that? In terms of what you visualized, is that a good compromise as far as the additional language there?
I tend to say yes. I'm going to follow up with Shannon. What do you think?
Well, I think that that was just one of the examples that I found quickly. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would hold that up as being the greatest one that I saw.
Well, it may not be the greatest, but it makes sense.
Well, could we do even a hybrid of it? I like the idea of being able to stack, but I also like the idea of having the buildings, each building themselves, a different depth too. Keep the buildings where they're staggered 4 foot.
I think
and keep the garages make it 2
I think you
foot.
have that in that document.
My-
If my memory serves me correct, that you do have the difference in terms of the frontage.
Yeah.
My concern with the 4-foot offset for the garages, if it's, with 4 feet,
Right.
that's quite a distance to travel in a car when you're backing out. If you've got small children playing in the driveway up front, that if you're in that, if you're coming
I see what you're
out,
saying. Yeah.
you're not gonna see that child because you've got that wall that's preventing you from seeing a child coming this way. So 4 feet for me is a lot, where you could end up with a small child that gets run over when they're backing out.
Plus, you kind of got a dead space there.
It's a blind spot.
Well, I'm just talking architectural wise, the blind spot didn't even dawn on me, but yeah. But I was just thinking on visual, looking down, you do have kind of a dead spot there.
I mean, 2 feet's not as bad.
Well, 2 foot, and then each building have them staggered at 4 foot. So you're really overdoing it, but I think it'll look like, because I love the idea of each building staggered.
Well, and that's going
And
to help
then-
the aesthetics.
then the
of it all
garage is
lined
staggered
up in a
as
row.
well.
And I think we want it to be more aesthetically pleasing. A concern of mine, and Dr. Browse talked about it, is if we enforce this with the 50%, probably a concern of mine is, he says, well, they'll build 1-car garages. So what you're going to do is you're going to have 4-plexes with people with 3 bedrooms with 1-car garage, so you're going to have garages in the driveway instead of in a garage. So, I mean, it's something.
Or on the street.
Or on the street. So if you're discouraging garages, you're going to have more cars sitting out versus a garage. So I think we've got to somehow, I think this is good, and you're right, Louisville's not perfect, but you've got to have a way that they can still do it, but just make it look nice. So if they're going to build the units with the garages, at least if the garages are there, it's going to not be solid in a row.
And can we also require that, and if it's not that expensive to change, but the 2 buildings cannot be the exact same. In other words, the front elevations, whether it has a hip or a gable, you can change those from building to building, but have one building where they have it with a gable and the next one a hip, or at least changes the front elevation enough that you don't have the exact same one.
It's not barracks.
Yeah, 10
See,
buildings down.
It's kind of implied in this document. I don't know if it's defined to that
I
extent.
think it should be
I do too.
defined on that.
My biggest issue with these that we've had, because we've had a lot of this development in, is the lack of visibility. So if that can be addressed, is that because you have so much garage on the front, if you're on the inside, I unfortunately had to live in something like this before, and you're trying to look out from the window that's way back here, you can't see what's going on in your driveway. So that's something also to look at from that standpoint of, where does the garage sit with respect to your building?
And I know that the issue of visibility, illumination, both were covered within the document. So, I guess it's just a matter of going back and if it's apparent, don't you think it's apparent that we just need a different recommendation in terms of garage?
I think we like the 50%. We want to have the 50% in there, but what we want to do is encourage them to use carriage doors, to use high-quality garage doors, to stagger the buildings, to stagger the garages not more than, not 4 feet, but 2 feet. So what we need staff to work on is a way to, if they're going to, an alternative to the 50%. And if they're gonna do the 50%, if they do this, you know, we've been talking about the whole code. We want to encourage the developer to use quality products and creativity and design. So that's what we need. We need to give them, if they are gonna have more than 50%, here's, or this, if you do this and this. So I know it's some work for staff, but we want to give them some creative choices.
Sure, yeah.
Is everyone kind of agreeing with me? Because we're basically concerned about the aesthetics of it. So if we can have, you know, more than 50%, but it looks really nice, we're okay with it. It's just the way, what's being built currently doesn't look.
I don't see how you're gonna be able to maintain the 50% requirements if you're gonna have garages in the front. It's gonna be very difficult to do that. So you're more or less gonna address it from the aesthetics and from the visual effect side.
Or,
I would agree with that.
Or that's
If
a
you-
mark, right.
If you allow the garages in front, and
Yeah.
and if you look even at what's going on now, more garages rather than less is what is being looked at now. But there's only so much square footage of a unit, particularly a multifamily unit, that you can build and have it be marketable for what you're, you know, for what you're producing. If you're going to allow garages in front, you either hold them to the 50% and say, you make it work. I don't really care how you do it, but you make it work. Or you say, no, we're not going to do garages in the front like that. You're going to pull them around to the side, you're going to pull them into the back. But I agree. I mean, you can give any incentive you want, and you will get the better building materials because they will use the incentive, because they're going to have trouble holding it 50% as is. I mean, Mike, how many units do you build multifamily that you don't have a two-car garage?
I don't build multifamily.
But I mean,
But yeah.
you see it more than we do.
Yeah.
Most of them have 2 garages now, double-car garages. I see
Actually, on
2 or 3.
multifamily, they have single.
Really?
Yes.
Are they single tandem?
No, they're single garage, one garage, and there's no way I can get my truck in there. I mean, they are just dinky.
Right.
They're storage units.
Right.
Yeah, they're storage.
What you're having is a garage door, you're having the effect, but it's an artificial effect,
Yeah.
because there is not enough depth once you get inside. You can't even open the doors on your car,
Yeah.
let alone get
I
a
mean, if I had a
full-size,
mini or something,
get
maybe I could
full-size
get in there
vehicle.
again.
And many of the ones that you see that are being built now.
Paige, the aesthetics concern, are they only for frontal?
the,
So like at an if you're building on a corner, you can have all the garages you want down the side. We're just worried about what it looks like on the front, even though they're both
Well,
on the street.
on a corner property, that would be different too, because you're gonna look at the visual view, axis of view in both
So
directions.
then, is
So
there?
that would be more of an ideal where people would tuck it around.
Which really brings us, what Ryan says, brings up a good question. If we do nothing but rear garages, and that's a storage unit because there are gonna be smaller garages, it might be a little bit bigger. Where are people gonna park? Because normally you have maybe 5 foot of a driveway in the back to that alleyway.
Down my access
Heck, if they're
alley.
doing those small garages, they should be able to hold them to 50%. That shouldn't be a problem.
Well, if they're doing
And
little
we can-
garages and they really can't fit 2 cars in,
and
they're
we
right,
can-
the 50%
yeah,
shouldn't be a
50%
problem.
should be no problem.
I
You
guess-
put them in front and we can require them with that
Well,
garage
you
door.
just made the argument for why the 50% should be easy to do.
Yeah, piece of cake.
There you go.
It doesn't happen in the front. You never see that. If they're putting garages in the front, they're using 2-car garages, even moving to 3.
And that's for single family
That's
too.
for
I mean,
single.
this single family houses, if you think about a lot of the single family homes you see, it's a lot of garage.
That's-
People want
that's
garages.
Well,
Right,
it's-
those are.
it's
right.
better
They're for the single
One
garage.
garage
We like
unit
it from
is what you have.
a
Yeah.
standpoint
You know,
of
it appears that
less,
it's-
fewer break-ins to cars. I mean, you
You
know,
like
from
the
that-
garages.
Yeah, we like the garages because if people are parking in a garage and locking the door behind them, we don't have stuff stolen from their cars. Because they don't
Right,
take
there is
everything
single
in.
car garage. It's just a matter, do you want to have a frontage that is a door and windows, or do you want to have a frontage that's dominated by garages? That's the issue.
And I think the
That's-
50% is
It's really the only
reasonable.
issue.
Yeah, if you could make them all look like this picture, that'd be great.
Well, which is going to be
But that's
from
not
a
gonna happen.
builder's perspective, that's going to be more costly.
All right.
So that's a duplex there. and you're got a lot more square footage